unique landscapes, from the dark heart of the rainforest to the tropical waters of the Great Barrier Reef and the wetland floodplains. It's big, dangerous. On the trail of weird and wonderful animals found here and nowhere else. Whoa, that's a great bridge. Wasn't that beautiful? For a naturalist, this is one of the most inspirational places to visit on our entire planet as I set out on an epic adventure into wild Australia. I'm travelling to the other side of the globe, to the Australian outback. It is so dry and remote that it's one of the most challenging environments in the world. This is the red centre of Australia. The first settlers who came here, the outback pioneers, described this as a dead desert. It's really interesting because very few of the early explorers of Australia paid any regard to the Aboriginal knowledge. But if they had, they would have learned that this isn't a dead desert at all. It's actually a place filled with life. Australia is the driest inhabited continent in the world, and today I'm at its heart. I'm starting at the Uluru Monolith, and I will pursue my journey deeper into the interior to the geographic centre of the country. I'm getting to Uluru by helicopter, and from the air, it's awe-inspiring to see this crimson earth sprawling under me as far as the eye can see. It feels like I'm flying over Mars. And like the red planet, this colour comes from the presence of iron oxide, but the big difference is that here there's vegetation. And that means there is water. The one big challenge here is finding it. For millennia, plants, animals, and people have built their lives around this search, and that's what I want to explore. Coming up to Uluru now. It's an incredibly impressive sight in this landscape. The Uluru Monolith, also known as Ayers Rock, is possibly the most striking and recognisable landmark in the world. It's an overwhelming presence in the landscape, but there's another quintessential figure in the red centre, a creature that is built to find water in the desert. I'm heading now to a red kangaroo sanctuary, and I'm really quite excited because they're an amazing animal, and every time I've seen one in the wild, I've taken a look at it, it's taken a look at me, and the next thing there's been a puff of dust in the desert, and it's gone. They can really shift. I'm doing 60 kilometres an hour at the moment, and that's how fast they move across the desert. So by going to this sanctuary, for once I have the opportunity to be up close and personal with the animal that is the Australian icon. And here they are, the biggest marsupials in the world. This 36-hectare wildlife reserve has plenty of room for them to roam freely. For many of these animals, their story started with a tragedy. Brolga, founder of the sanctuary, introduces me to two young residents.
I rescued Hope from roadkill, which means checking the pouches of dead kangaroos in the street. And that's the message I've been trying to get through to people. If you see a dead kangaroo out there on the road...
Think, Joey?
Yep, there could be a little baby still alive in the pouch of the dead mum, so please get out and have a look.
Amazing. And this is Patrick, isn't it?
And Patrick came from hunting, so his mother was hunted.
He's so beautiful.
Yes, yes. So we carry them around in these pillowcases, and that sort of replicates the security of mum's pouch, and then the breathing and the warmth of our bodies just settles the babies down.
Fantastic. What a great idea.
Yeah. It's only in this very early time like now that we actually nurture them and hold them and carry them around, because they would be getting carried around in mum's pouch.
So they'll still maintain a fear of humans?
Yes.
Now that I've had a cuddle with the Joeys, I can't resist taking a closer look at the adults. Great fair to watch. Stand this close, 5 metres away. Less than that, 4 metres. As a desert animal, red kangaroos have adapted to this arid landscape. Incredibly, they're able to smell water underground. It's a fantastic skill, and Aboriginals knew they could follow them to find water. The method by which they move is highly efficient. They don't burn many calories, they can travel fast, they can flee from a predator swiftly. If they have to go from a water source to another water source that are a long way apart, being able to do so efficiently can have survival value. Look at this. Hello, little emu. Just brilliant. I loved every minute of this close encounter with red kangaroos. They're a living example that knowing the desert means knowing how to find water, and I definitely want to find out more. The best people to talk to about that are the traditional owners of this land. Aboriginal people, it's astonishing, but they've travelled across this landscape where there's hardly a drop of water to be found for thousands of years. They have an incredible, detailed knowledge of how to navigate this landscape, going from water and food resource from one to another. And I have to spend some time here with Aboriginal people if I'm really going to understand that intimate relationship with the desert itself. It's good out here, I like this place. This is Sammy Wilson. He and his ancestors have called this place home for thousands of years. They have managed to survive in this difficult landscape by being incredibly ingenious.
Oh, lizard, yeah.
And eating everything they can, like this giant lizard, a sand goanna, that they would typically cook on the fire.
Wow, that's some country, isn't it?
All this knowledge has been passed on from generation to generation. And the next one is ensured with Vance and Justin, who are joining us.
Is this the water hole? Oh, look at this. So this is fill up here, obviously, when there's rain.
Yeah, when you got good rain, they come up.
Look at that. There are several types of water holes. This one is a natural cavity where water collects. It's been particularly dry lately, so right now it's empty. It shows just how hard it must have been for those who relied on these sources. How far would you have to go from here to your next source of water if you were travelling on foot?
100 km. Eh?
Really?
Yeah.
Between water sources?
Yeah.
100 kilometres? It's a hard life.
Oh, well.
When you stand at a place like this and you understand how important water is in the desert, I can't help thinking about all the generations of people who've come here. You know, and you see the stone tools here, like the shiny rock here.
Yeah.
Is this where someone's been grinding?
Grinding seed.
Make a damper.
They grind it and bake it and eat. Yeah. Good people, they're smart people. Eh?
Very smart people. They had to be very clever.
Yeah.
Before night falls, we make our way to the campsite. I prepare my bed for the night while Sammy is setting a fire. Simple swag. In the old days, the pioneers travelling through the country and workers on the outstations, they used to carry their swag across their shoulder on a strap with over the other shoulder their food bag, their tucker bag, and that's how they travel. One counterbalanced the other, and in their bedroll they also carried any spare clothes that they needed. It's a very simple way to sleep in the desert. It's a brilliant way to sleep in the desert. If the clouds clear, we'll say, then it's not 5-star luxury, it's a 1 billion-star luxury. It really doesn't get any better. I think the sky's clear. I see a star. It's good to see it clear. Sitting around the campfire, Sammy opens up about living with his ancestral knowledge.
I'm old now and I'm learning more. And I'm still learning today or tomorrow.
Yeah. You've actually guided the Dalai Lama, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah.
And what was that like?
I think I was waiting like this. And he called, no, I'm doing like this. This is your country. Oh, thank you.
And what did he say?
Keep your culture strong. Learn the modern way. And keep your culture strong.
Profound words.
Yeah.
If I had my way, I would spend weeks with Sammy, but the night calls with the promise of more adventures in the morning. Dawn, in the red centre of Australia. I've just camped for the night. It's 4:30 in the morning, and the temperature is already reaching 24 degrees Celsius. Despite being a desert, it is definitely not a dead landscape. There's life for those who know where to find water. It's an extraordinary place. Well, that was a wonderful night. Something special about sleeping out in the desert. The sun comes up really quickly here. It's almost like the light's being turned straight on. There was no dawn chorus to speak of, just one mournful cry from a bird over there. And that just is a reflection of the aridity of this landscape. It's a very difficult environment. Time for me to move on. To find life in the desert, I'm pursuing the water and heading deeper into the centre of the country, where mountain ranges channel the rain and where underground water collects near the surface. So, I've driven about 5 hours north from Uluru, and the terrain here is quite different. I can see the vegetation is changing, but the most dramatic change is the landscape. As you can see, we've got more mountainous, more rocky terrain. Rocky areas in the deserts often hold moisture, and that attracts all sorts of life. So that's exactly what I need. As I start walking into this terrain, I come across a common wallaroo, a marsupial that is often referred to as a Euro. If the red kangaroo is the Ferrari of their species, built for speed in open land, then the Euro is the quad bike, stocky and adapted to all terrain. This close I can see that that's a male Euro. You can see the fur is quite rough. It enables it to live in a much wider range of conditions. You can see he's young. It may also be why I'm so close to it. Young animals are a little bit more naive than the older, more experienced ones. Let's see how close I can get. Dare I take another step? That's fantastic. It's not every day you get to play hide and seek with a Euro like that. Wonderful. He was doing that thing at the end where it's like, I'll pretend to eat. Caught you. Moving further into the boulders, I come across another type of marsupial, a rock wallaby. Actually, it's not just one, it's a whole colony. It's a fantastic sight. Their camouflage is astonishing, it really is. They've this dusky shades of browny grey that has little moods in it, like the shadows in the rocks themselves. It's wonderful. If they weren't moving, it would be very difficult to spot. Different adaptations to suit tiny little different windows in the ecosystem, windows of opportunity for a life form. A little further along, I spot more vegetation, more bird life, like a little oasis, a sure sign of water. It could be a river. I'm going to follow the lead. When you come down to one of these rivers, this is what you find. The vegetation that you saw from a distance are these large red gums, and then it's dry and sandy. And it's tantalising. You know, there's moisture here, but can you actually access it? Although we can't see the water, I'm pretty sure it's flowing underground, bringing life to those who know how to find it. There are many traces of activity, a sure telltale that there is plenty of moisture. You can see here along the edge of the river, there are fresh dingo tracks. Nice thing to see if we get the chance. Very often you just get a fleeting glimpse of dingoes, but they're coming along the river just as people once did, looking for food, because obviously water draws in game and improves their chances of finding a meal. Dingoes have been nicknamed the Australian wolf. They hunt in packs, and they don't bark, they howl. In the past, I've heard them calling each other at night. It's impressive. I'd love to track one down. So there are lots of dingo tracks here, different size animals, so the family group. moving together. And what do you do when you come across a big mass of tracks like this? Well, you can't follow them all, so what you do is you look for one that's particularly fresh and you follow that. And they've got nice fresh tracks going off in this direction here. There's been a lot of activity here. You can see where one of the dingoes has been lying down here. That's why it's so smooth and flat there. And the soil here is moist. There was a thunderstorm last night. Maybe they're lying there because it's a little cool. Also, really quite a good position to watch the landscape. I'm starting to think that there might be a den site here. Dingoes raise their pups in dens. If there's one near here, I have a shot at finding one of the parents. There's our dingo. Fantastic. You see, the dingo just there, just going to think that he's going to disappear because their camouflage will blend right in with that grass. Awesome. See if we can call him over. Now, there's a bit of curiosity going on. Fantastic. That's a female. She's come to see what I'm doing. And you can see, I think she's been feeding young recently. She looks a little bit low on body weight. She's come really close. This is such a privilege. That's lovely. Look at her. Wow, she's 30 metres now. Wonderful thing to see. Australia's wild dog. Awesome. And she's off. That's magical. There you go. It just goes to show, by taking the time to read the landscape like the locals and following the moisture, it is possible to find wildlife here. And my journey in search of water comes to a dramatic end in this amazing setting. After a long hot day, this is exactly what you want to find. A waterhole like this one. Permanent water. 30 metres deep. Fed by the oldest river in the world, the Fink River. This is a magnet, as you can imagine, for all sorts of wildlife. Birds, animals, including people. When the weather is pushing 40 degrees, I tell you, that's irresistible.